we have something extra today. It's not my turn yet, but but we're doing something different. So it was great that Nelda mentioned that she, as well as Cynthia, who is our live stream person today, became licensed prayer practitioners a year ago. And we usually do something for our newly minted practitioners right afterwards. We give them a prayer stole. Like Reverend Jill and I have our own version as ministers, and we're not really vestment-oriented around here. And sometimes we call them our prayer boas, but but it's kind of nice. And so we would have given them to them last summer, but I kept saying, I know this pandemic's going to be over soon, and I want to do it with people here. And before you know it, it's a year later. But here you are, and we're able to do it in person. And before we bring them up, I just want to tell you a little bit of symbolism. Like I said, their stole is very similar to what Reverend Jill and I wear. So first there is our Signs of Mine symbol. And I don't see this as necessarily a sacred symbol like a cross or a Star of David, but it does represent our power of choice and the creative process of how even when we don't think we have choices, there's still some choices that we can make. And if you feel these are made in so many different ways, in so many unique ways. But often there's a side that has a really silky portion and a side that's kind of a rougher, silky portion. And for me, that represents that the presence of the divine is all things, even when it gets a little rough. And that's the job of our prayer practitioners, to be with you when the going gets a little rough. Not to tell you what to do, not to give you advice, not to give you some great phone numbers of who to call, but just to sit in prayer with you and know that the presence of the divine has the answer for you and is within you. And it is so wonderful for someone just to tell you that, isn't it sometimes? To say, I know you know. And that's what they do. So Reverend Joe, why don't you come up and see if you want to add anything to that before we bring our this is great that it's the year anniversary, isn't it? Here, speak into my lapel.
I would, but
yeah, I know.
The only thing I want to add is that whenever I put this on, there is a sacredness that happens, and it's symbolic to me of the covenant I know that I made with God, with the divine, and so I'm sure for the practitioners it's very similar. It's something about the covenant they make to hold the highest watch in prayer, especially when they have it on. So it's meaningful to me.
Yeah. So first, Nelda, why don't you come over and Cynthia get ready, It's funny, she's doing live stream, and this is like two completely different things. And so, see, they're very similar, and they're just beautiful. We have these handmade from someone who makes them in California, in Santa Rosa.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now anoint you.
There you go.
Thank you so much. I can't This really, really means a great deal to me. I was aware that this was going to happen, but I didn't realize it was going to make me cry. Anyway, thank you to all of you. I'm going to be practitioner here one more time before I leave with my husband to go live in California. And I realize that I'm taking this with me because I will continue to be a prayer practitioner. This is part of my life. This is something that has given me so much in the last several years. Having come here back in 2005 and then all these years taking classes little by little and finally realizing, oh my goodness, this is what I needed to do all along to become a prayer practitioner. So this is a very important moment in my life. Thank you to both of you.
You're welcome, and here's your little bag.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. And Cynthia.
It's the first time I've been up here for a long time. I don't know. Wow. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, gosh, this feels really good.
There you go.
I'm glad we're doing this again.
This together.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. This is official.
Yes, and thank you for
Thank
being
you.
a prayer practitioner with us. You're
Thank
such a
you so
blessing to
much.
us all.
Thank
So,
And thank you all. I didn't know I was supposed to say something.
You don't have to.
Thank you. I'll just say thank you.
Yes. There you go. Funny, I can ruin any party I'm invited to. Because there's this look of terror when people realize what I do for a living. And they start to do inventory, like, what language did I use? Like, of course, I would never use that kind of language myself, heaven forbid. And it's almost kind of fun at this point in my life. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that in. So this has actually been kind of a practitioner recognition weekend. I just want to tell you a little bit what happened here yesterday. So, we talked a little bit about Cynthia Nelda and their process, and it's all in all about a 3 to 4 year process of education. And one of the last thing that happens after a written exam is that you have to go before a panel of 3 people, 1 minister and 2 licensed prayer practitioners that you don't know, or at least not well. And it's about an hour process. It's kind of like the last thing you go through, last check-in to just really see that this is for you. And it's a celebration of, this is what you want to do. It's kind of rare that a person is asked to spend more time in contemplation and come back. So we did that for a practitioner candidate from Boise Center for Spiritual Living here yesterday. And they brought about 6 people, they were practitioners, and some of our practitioners came, and we had lunch for about 15 people out on the lawn, and it was really great. So that's the kind of stuff that goes on here when you're not looking. But the work of a practitioner is also the heart of what Reverend Jill and I do as ministers. And sometimes I wonder, what extra do I do? And really, the core of the work we do is to be a prayer practitioner. And again, my job is, and Reverend Jill's job, is not to tell anybody what to do or how to do it or who to call. It's to know that you have it within you to do it. That you have it within you to listen, that even if the idea or concept of spiritual practice of listening just freaks you out, like, the second I close my eyes, the noise goes on, you still are able to do it. And what I have found that it doesn't always happen when you want it to happen. Like, I'm meditating, so I'm just trying so different, I just want to do it, and it won't come, but then lo and behold, you're walking a dog or going down the street or just staring out the window, and it comes. And that's the support that our prayer practitioners do to let you know that moment does come. Even when it seems the darkest or the roughest, that moment will come. And so thinking about this further with a couple themes this month, one of looking at the calling of our soul, that deep divine urge within us. Also, this month, the idea of freedom, starting with Juneteenth and going to 4th of July, this freedom of choice that we teach that there is freedom of choice, but yet often we make it more difficult than we have to. And I'm not saying that, just believe in yourself and it'll all work out. Well, kind of is, and there's a lot of detours in there. I've had a lot of detours. I mean, I really had. I've different times I've had a clear vision of where I want to be, like what I'm doing right now, and boy, did it take a long time to get here. And boy, were there was times that it just didn't seem that was going to happen. And sometimes I thought, what cruel joke is the universe playing on me, because it's just not going to happen. But it eventually gets there, and it happens in time and on time. It really does. And if it doesn't happen, I found out that you're probably better off. So that's what I have found out. So, big surprise, I'm going to talk about my dog today. In fact, I was this morning in this, because Will knows how to make a life that seems of ease. Not easy, but ease. In fact, I told my partner, Mac, this morning, I'm going to talk about Will the dog today. He says, you always talk about Will the dog. I said, really? So I'm going to get it out of my system. But just thinking of a life of ease, again, not easy, but being in a sense of flow, even when you're just so challenged, there can still be a sense of flow. And I don't want to lead anyone to believe that if you do certain prayers or spiritual practice, that it's just going to be easy. But you can, in your most difficult moments, have a sense that you're on the right track. Even if it's just challenging you to the inner core of your being, you can still have the knowledge that you're on your right track. Again, I don't want to tell anyone that if you just figure this out and pray just right, it's just going to be great all the time. But there's flow. So if you notice how our pets have a life of ease, of course, we aid and abet that for them. Of course, thinking this morning, it said dogs have owners and cats have staff. You've heard that. But there is a sense of ease that they just know. It's not an egotistical thing. Well, maybe with cats. But that there is a flow and expectation that life is going to work for them. And I think we can learn a lot from that. And especially in this idea of we talk so much about abundance or having our life supplied in what we need. And on one hand, we like to think, well, I'm above that. Wanting to have certain nice things, that's just not spiritual. But yet, if you go to any Center Spiritual Living Center, and if you offer a workshop on abundance, that'll be your highest attendance throughout the whole year. It's like, no, it's not spiritual, but what time is that? What do I have to bring? What do I have to do? When do I win the lottery tickets? I mean, it's not about lottery. It's about abundance for us. It's about being in the flow of life and having things flow in and out in time and on time. And so here's some observances I make with Will and all former dogs. They're really clear on what they want. Have you noticed that? So even though I may be sitting on the couch like, I'm so over today, I just really want to do nothing, Will come over with a tennis ball in his mouth. Won't say anything, won't even yelp, he'll just sit there. And he'll wait. And he'll wait some more. And if that doesn't work, he'll go get the other toy of the day. Right now it's a phony Crayola box with little stuffed Crayolas in it. It's not really crayons. And so he has to pull them out there. So he's been bringing that toy. He's really clear. Dogs aren't really attuned to linear time except for mealtime. So he just casually goes over, sits by the bowl, and to really make sure, and then he really does start going like this. So the thing about our furry friends is that they have a sense of what's right and what they need. They have a sense that it is okay to ask for it. And there is no sense that they're not worthy of receiving it. And there's no sense of people will think badly of me if I ask. They just know what they need and what they want. And so when we talk about issues around supply and abundance, it's not about getting the secret of saying the right prayer or affirmation. A lot of it is going to our inner roadblocks of, on one hand, we teach that the presence of the divine is in all things, but sadly, many of us, if not all of us, on some level, believe that's not true about us in some area. And it's true. We'll think, oh, this is a great philosophy. The presence of God is in all things, but yet, maybe I was the only one left out. Or maybe I don't have 100% share somehow. And that at any time when something seems elusive, there often can be this thing of, I'm not deserving, or somehow that's, I'm not good enough for it in some way, or gee, that would just be too egotistical to say that I would like to be well supported in my life. So when you see a prayer practitioner in this area, most of it is just praying and knowing that you are perfect, whole, and complete, and with the presence of the divine within you at all times, even though you may have convinced yourself otherwise. If you just did that, imagine how your life would change. And I'm not saying that we're all just, oh my God, these deep, dark things that we have to get rid of, but we all as humans just have even just a little tinge of that. So just imagine if just that one thing you were able to 100% work through like your dog or your cat. That you didn't think on some level that you weren't worthy or capable on some level. So that's pretty big. second thing with this that your prayer practitioner will work with you is to not ask you, but ascertain, what are you carrying around? We all have a little bit of baggage that we carry, or old stories in our life, or negative and positive things that we carry with us from past relationships, from our families, any numbers of things that has happened in careers and jobs throughout our whole life, and they color everything that we go into new experiences. That you may go into a new experience, and it is for the first time with people you've not met before, but you think, oh, this reminds me of when this happened. And you instantly bring that in, whether it is both positive or negative, into your experience. And you've never met this woman, and suddenly it's your mother. It's like, oh, I left you, in Canada or something, and here you are right in front of me. So here's a great thing that happened a couple weeks ago. I wrote about this week. So again, back to Will. Walking at Trail Creek, and of course, Will sees everyone as a potential friend. And he gets very excited. And so he went, and sniffed around a little dog, and the dog wasn't too happy about it. In fact, thank God the other dog was on a leash, because suddenly he was like Cujo the dog. And Will was like crushed. Oh my God, he even yelped. He didn't get bit. But he was like, it was like, someone doesn't love me? I mean, it was just like this shock. Someone doesn't love me? And then he walked away. And as I said in my blog, actually he really walked away. Oh, there's another dog over here. Oh, there's a flower over there. Oh, I haven't gone swimming yet. As humans, we often don't do that. So if we have a negative interaction with someone or something, we usually walk away telling that story and reliving it within us, if not the rest of the day, the rest of the week. And if it really hit home in a negative way, we might tell that story within ourselves for quite a long time. We might tell it to the point to our friends where they start to run away from us upon seeing us. That we just can't get rid of this story. And so you go back again in the same situation. You go, oh my gosh, that was so hurtful before. And this, I'm bracing and getting ready for it again. And even if it doesn't happen, you energetically and biologically had it happen again. I mean, many of you, most of you, know of or have heard of the power of visualization. Visualization in a very secular way, you could close your eyes. And so let's say you at some point in your life, going into a job interview that just really had you, weirded out or something. Like, oh God, this is too big of a thing. You could close your eyes and go through a semi-meditative process where you saw yourself go in to the interview. You saw yourself being well received by the person who was doing the interview. Imagining yourself calm and collected and expressing yourself very easily and effortlessly, and knowing that even if that job wasn't for you, that you showed well. Those things actually work. You can train yourself to go into situations and go there beforehand and to live them previously and go in and embrace it in a more positive way. I mean, it's actually scientifically proven. You can do that. We do that in the opposite way. We imagine the worst for ourselves. We imagine ourselves going to that interview and they're just saying, who are you to come here? I mean, our minds go crazy doing that. And if we spend as much time imagining or visualizing the positive as we did sometimes the negative, again, our lives would be transformed. I mean, how many times even we have so trained ourselves to do this that we don't even know we're doing it half the time. I'm brushing my teeth and thinking about the checker that made me upset the day before. Why? Why? They're not getting anything. In fact, they're at home in bed having coffee. They don't know what I'm doing. I mean, they could care less. In fact, they're on their second cup of coffee, and I'm like, oh my God, she didn't check my coupon. So we are so good at visualizing the negative. Imagine if we made ourselves equally as adept as imagining the positive. And it's not just a Pollyanna white light or just think good thoughts kind of things. It's energetically retraining yourself how you show up in life. And again, it's embracing that the divine is in all things, because the divine is, in a sense, in that positive that wants the best for you. So when we imagine the worst, it's like we go on vacation from that. It's like, oh no, that's too good. I can't listen to that kind of thing. Last insight with little Will, and of course he always makes his appearance afterwards, after we get our first little bit of socializing outside. So you'll see him in the flesh or in the fur. Maybe that's better to say that. So I think the most amazing thing about our animals is that life is always an adventure in a positive way. So there's, of course, we live in this amazing place, and there's probably endless amounts of different hikes and places that you can go walking with or without your animals. But like probably many of you, I have my go-to ones. Like this morning at 7:30, quick run down to the bike path, go to not Trail Creek, but to River Run. Will takes a little swim, we go back, get him in the car, and then I come here. It's just kind of one of our go-tos. And I have a tendency, I don't want to admit I have a tendency, but it's just like, Will, we got to really get going here. Come on, let's get to the bike path. No, you sniffed that yesterday. Come on already. It's like, well, no, don't eat that mushroom. It's not good for you. And then, of course, we get near the water. It's like, okay, here we go. It's like, yes, get going. Get in the water. Let's come back here. So as humans, it is so amazing how we can be so blind to this amazing world that we live in here. How I can be so blind that this amazing walk that I have, that just any number of people in this world would feel so privileged and joy-filled and grateful to take. I was like, okay, well, come on, get going here. Got to get to Light in the Mountains. The people are waiting. And of course, he doesn't give in to that. Oh, something else to smell. I may have smelled that yesterday, but let's give it another chance. And he's just like having a great old time. It's new every time. So imagine, and again, it's seeing the presence of Spirit in all things, and savoring it, and just living it, and taking it in, and just realizing the miraculous nature of life. Again, imagine if we did it just a little bit more. Imagine, again, we are so privileged to live in this place that we didn't have days that we took it for granted. That we didn't have days, I've just got to get to Haley or catch them for that appointment. And as these amazing mountains are passing by, you don't even notice. We all do that. We get so into our own little life. But I know for Will, each and every day is magic for him. And it can be magic for us. It doesn't mean you don't take care of what needs to get taken care of. It doesn't mean you don't pay your bills and go to work and call the people you need to call to, even if you don't want to call them sometimes. That you can still see that there's something amazing. Again, that's what a prayer practitioner can do for you when they coach you. Just, okay, let's put those stories aside. First of all, you're amazing. You have a presence within you that is amazing. And you have the ability to open up to that right now. We can't solve all your problems now, possibly. But we can open up to that energy that's within you. And so when I closed my blog this week simply saying, go ask a dog. If you don't have one, Will has office hours. In fact, today he has office hours. You can't pet a dog and feel sad at the same time, I don't think. Really. I mean, or should I say, you can't not have your heart feel full. You may have some sadness in you, but there is a fullness to it. So take advantage of that in this great place that we live. Ask a dog. Get in touch with the divine that's within you. So let's just take that within for a moment. And let us affirm that the presence of the divine is in all things. It is within me, it is within each person in this room, each person in the world. It doesn't matter what they're doing, what opinions they have. It doesn't matter if they've done things that we judge as even terrible. The presence of the divine is right there where they are and where we are. And so the secret and to the mystery of life is to know that and to live that and to be that. And I affirm for us today that we do that right now, right here. And we say yes to it. We know that humanly we don't know where it leads us, but we just say yes anyway. And in that, knowing that there's nothing left but to simply be grateful, to feel gratitude, even in those moments that are difficult, we feel gratitude. And in that, we simply take this idea of who we are and release it, let it go, and know that when we truly let something go, amazing things happen. And so it is.